Hey all, how's it going? I am so excited for this episode today. Miss Jenna, so Coach Jenna, and I decided that we would hop onto this call together and that we would talk through this topic together to bring you guys a different aspect and a couple different points of view on the same topic. So it's going to be a lot of fun, especially coming from two of the coaches that you work with most if you're working with us through the app, through our Facebook group, all of those things. So I will welcome her on here in just a moment and we will get started with our topic of, why finding friendship as adults is so hard, so overwhelming, and why we struggle with it so much. Okay, so I have Coach Jenna back with us now. So if any of you are with us through the First Form app, Jenna does the majority of our coaching in there at this point. But she also does a ton of our coaching. She developed all of the mobility programming in our NH Fitness app and always helps me come up with all the ideas. And let's be honest, helps keep me sane, which is the whole point of this call. So, Jenna, I'll let you go ahead and talk about yourself for a minute, bringing people up to speed if they're new to us.
Yeah, so I'm Jenna. I live out in Northern California, which is currently in flames right now. Pretty standard for us in the summertime, but I am a mom of two boys, married to my wonderful husband, who is a farmer, and I am a PE teacher. So kind of we live parallel lives on the opposite sides of the country.
Yes, absolutely. Which is, I think, something that's super interesting. So I already told the beginning of this call what this topic is, and it's more like why finding friendship as adults is so dang hard, or why we make it so hard. And I guess I have a couple of notes. I know you have a couple of notes. And I figure we could just talk about each other's ideas about this topic because it is something that's so insanely difficult. And I know that we bonded because we're so similar and we had similar goals at that time. We still do, but we really found out all these things. And for those of you that don't know, we aren't the same age, but we have very close birthdays. Your mom and I have the same birthday, right?
Yes, and we're one day apart.
We're one day apart. And then our anniversaries on the same days. Our kids are almost the same ages. Our husbands both farm, right? There's so many more things, but we just bonded over all the things, and that's kind of the start of like an adult friendship, right? Like, oh, we have something in common. Let's build on that.
It goes
And
like the color purple. Like
right,
what?
and so then like I look at it and I thought of this topic and I was like, okay, so why is it so hard to make friends with people, and damn you for living halfway across the country, because I don't get to see you all that often. Damn well try. But why is it so hard to make friends with people that are like right down the road? And I don't know why that is necessarily, but one of the things that I notice is that people that you seem to meet in person, even if they kind of know who you are through the grapevine or you're brand new to them, it always seems like there's some sort of ulterior motive to it. Like they have a second agenda if they're meeting you or trying to make friends with you. Like, okay, are they wanting their friends to be friends with my kids? Are they wanting the inside scoop on this thing that they heard that happened in the local town? Or, what is their ulterior motive? Because it never feels genuine. So what do you think? Do you have that at all?
It's funny that you say that because like my kids are friends with my friends as kids. So I've almost been like, well, you guys are going to be friends because we're friends. But I think it absolutely goes in the role reversal is like your kids make friends at school. And then by default, you're supposed to be friends with the parents so you can all hang out together. Like, is that really how it goes? Should it go that way? Probably not. Does it happen? Yes, because we need our kids to hang out with people and that's just how it goes. But I mean, I think you're absolutely right. Is like making friends an adult is awkward, especially if you're not like somebody that, I mean, I hate to say it, but if you don't go out, like, where are you meeting people? You're meeting people at school, you're meeting people on the soccer field. And so you have commonalities that direction rather than those like genuine friendships, like you're saying. So, I mean, we had this conversation with my kids last night randomly, and then you approached me on this topic, which I think is also strange. And the boys were asking us like, well, you guys don't have a lot of friends. And we were kind of explaining to them like, no, but we have those few friends that we are like, either have been friends with like lifers. I've got a couple friends that I've been friends with since I was 3, but we became friends because our moms were friends. Same thing. And so we kind of explaining to the boys that like, you also have those friends that like, you can call them and depend on them no matter what, no questions asked, they will be there in a heartbeat. And so it was interesting to see their wheels turn of like, huh, so my friends that I currently have, may not be my friends that I have later in life. And I think that's totally valid. And I think it's good to expose them to that relationships change and friendships change, and what you're getting out of a relationship and a friendship changes throughout your life.
Oh my God,
So
it's so true. Like, I know that you and I listen to all the things, and I know that I've heard before, like, people are meant to be a part of your life at certain times, and sometimes they are no longer a part of your life. Sometimes they come back into your life. And I totally agree. We have some of those friends that are the lifers. I unfortunately really don't have any of
I'll be
them.
your lifer.
Yes, you're my lifer. I do have a couple of really close friends from college. I don't talk to them near as much as I talk to you, right? I told the kids today, and I was like, I talk to Jenna, you two, and my husband every day. Those are the only people I talk to every single day. But like my two friends from college, one of them, we can sit down and pick right up where we were before, but we don't talk every day. It's more like a once a month thing. The other best friend from college, we don't talk near as often, but you know, if she called me tomorrow and said, I need you here, I'd be there. And
Exactly.
that's kind of how it goes. And I feel like we just need certain types of people and certain types of connections to help us get through the day to day, because it's just life gets crazy. And so you like,
Life gets crazy.
yeah. And so I love that you had that conversation with your kids. And it's so funny because like we're on the same wavelength all the time.
Right?
Um, that you had that conversation, and it occurred to me that we should have a call on this because I can't have a call on this by myself. So
No.
yes.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's like your friend who's from college who you may not talk to once every 3 or 4 months, but you both have that understanding, and that's what your relationship is built on. Like you both understand that this is, and it works, and that works for both of you. And that's a problem when it works for one person and doesn't work for the other person. And that's when you end up with these issues. And that's when it's like, okay, what do we need to work on in this relationship, friendship, whatever it is? You have a relationship with that person, like what does it look like for both of you, so both your needs are being met? And like you had said today, you posted today that 80-20, and it's like, yep, there it is again. It's like 80% listening, 20% talking, and or you're willing to put in the work, somebody else is not. Well, maybe that's not a relationship that serves you anymore, you
Exactly.
know
It's
and
so
that's okay. That's
yeah,
the problem I think we get stuck in the society, is like it's okay to have relationships that have moved on. The friendships that you were friends with when you were 12 may not be your friends in college anymore. And I know we have some younger, college clients out there that may be listening to this, that it's like, it's okay if you've moved on from your best friend from high school. You guys may be going to college halfway across the country, and that's okay. And my best friend and I did that. We moved out and now we're friends again. Like, happens.
yeah, like you weave in and out, right? And I mean, I gotta say, I can't really imagine you not being a very significant part of my life. So I think you are my lifer. But I feel like certain friends, even if you haven't spoken to certain people in a long time, like they may come back around and you both have
Mhm.
changed, because that's part of like you're supposed to grow and evolve. You
Yes.
evolve back into a commonality again. And I think that that's something you put on the table too. So
Yes, I absolutely agree with you on that. People can come and people can go, and they can come back again. So,
yep.
and I think that's a valid thing that I think everybody needs to hear. And even like coming from both sides of somebody, if you are somebody who has stepped away from a friendship, or you are somebody else has stepped away from your friendship, like, I mean, you can hold a grudge, but if you're the one holding the grudge, that's on you. Like
Yeah.
if you're not willing to, open
Yeah.
it up, or, find a new commonality, like, hey, you may used to go to the bars drinking every night together. Great. And now one of you is not into that anymore. Find something else that you guys can go do together.
Mhm.
Find a level ground that is now more meaningful for you.
Oh my gosh,
Uh,
it's so true. And that was one of my other points too, is because it's like I feel like now I want to be friends with certain people, right? And I love all kinds of people, and I don't care what you do in your pastime as long as it's not like deadly drugs or whatever.
Legal.
Like it seems like so often we'll go out and we'll get to talking to different people that are like kind of common to us, but we don't know very well. And we're like, oh, these people are so cool. And all of a sudden they're like, let's go and smoke some weed. And I'm like, that's not my thing. Like, I don't care if that's what you all do, right? Like I know I've got tons of close friends, even some family members that do that, and that's fine. Just don't ask me to do it because it's not. I don't need it. All
Yeah,
right.
and those people need to be respectful of that. Like,
Yeah,
hey, I'm not judging you. I just don't want to participate with you.
exactly. And I don't drink much anymore either. And every single time we go somewhere, like people are either drinking or they're smoking, and then that's really the extent of it. I don't really see people doing other stuff because I'm that's really not my world. But it's just like I feel like I have to justify why I don't. And then it gets awkward. And they're like, even just last weekend, we went to town and everybody else was like really having a good time. And I was totally sober, but they were all really respectful and still super fun about it, which was like such a refreshing moment because it's not always the case.
Not at all. Like, why have we gotten to the point where you have to question why someone's not drinking
Yeah.
and question what's in, like, I think there was a Mel Robbins podcast about that. Like, why are we asking what is in someone else's cup? Why do you care if I'm drinking water or coffee and you're drinking straight alcohol? Like,
Oh,
why do you
oh, for sure.
care?
It doesn't make any sense. And
Not hurting you.
no, it was so refreshing to go out and have fun and be totally sober and actually like click with people, get along with people, truly laugh, not a fake laugh, like a genuine laugh, and not feel like I had to partake in the same things that they were doing. Like, thank you, God, that was great.
Yeah.
So I just think that that's awesome. But you said right now, and I didn't even put this together, that we're not going out like we used to, where we used to meet friends. You know, so we're meeting people at the soccer field or at the basketball game or whatever because our kids' activities are what's bringing our commonalities together instead of our interests. And that's
Mhm.
why it doesn't maybe last as long or why it doesn't
Yep.
click as hard. Makes total
Yep.
sense.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
Light bulb,
Yeah.
and to be honest, I mean, our kids are in, I mean, we're in California. Our kids are in the COVID generation. They missed a very important piece of how to make friends. Like that, second, third grade time, like those were like key moments for my children in like making friends and learning like the social skills. So I feel like, I don't know, even as a teacher, I see it, I'm like, that's not how we treat people. That's not how we make friends. That's not how we, when we were kids, it's like, oh, you kick the kid you like, but it's like some of the things that they're doing, these tendencies. I'm like, you're learning that from social media because you were behind a screen for so long. And I feel like that is something that is valid to talk about is like, you can have, I mean, you and I, again, we talk all the time, but you can have relationships with people behind a screen and say these things that whether it's a positive or a negative. I mean, if you have a great relationship from somebody screen to screen, I mean, you hear about people getting married all the time on the internet. Great, that's fine. But what is your relationship in person like? And I
Oh
think
yeah.
that is like something but if it works for you, then it's fine. If it works for both parties, I feel like it's okay. Like
Yeah.
there's not, you don't need to force it.
Yes. Yes. I think a big part of that too is both parties need to be willing to be honest about it, right? Like this is or isn't working for both of us. We have to be able to be honest and have an adult conversation about that and agree to disagree or agree to work on it. And I think that
Yeah.
that's what leads into so many of these huge disagreements and the cattiness and the clickiness and all that crap. But
Well, that goes back to, yeah, if you're not willing to work on it, like, okay, you both have to be able to work on it. Otherwise, something's not going to happen.
oh
If one person's like, well, I'm not going to work on this friendship. Well, okay, I can't work on it with myself. So,
yeah. Yeah, and I think that brings up another valid point is you guys, most of the people that are listening to us are between at least their mid-20s to their mid-40s. If we're at this point, we don't have enough confidence to be ourselves and not change to be liked by someone else, we need to do some serious work on ourselves first. And I'm not
yeah.
saying that judgmental tone at all, but you are never going to be happy with a friend or with a partner or whatever unless you're happy by yourself first. So, like, if you keep on bending who you are and morphing your personality and your interests and all these things, because trust me, I did that when I was younger, you're never really gonna be happy with who you're hanging around with because you're not actually happy with who you are.
And if you can't dance around like a total loony bird in the kitchen with somebody, like, you got to be able to be yourself,
Oh, yeah.
That person's not going to accept you for your foot stomping and booty shaking in your kitchen, with your hair on top of your head. Well, maybe they're not a good friend.
Exactly. Yes, it's absolutely true.
That's me.
Yes. Well, and I mean, I know we were talking a little bit before we started the call back up, but like you and I are best friends. At least you're my best friend, but our husbands are really our best friends.
Yes. Yes,
And
they
I think
are.
yeah, like that's how you and Brad are. It's how Rob and I are. Now, do we have conversations about our husbands? Absolutely,
Of
because
course.
friends do, but it's like not bad. It's like I
No.
need to vent this so that I can think it through.
Yeah, you need perspective.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you can honestly vent that to yourself. For those of you that like don't have that person you can go to in the mirror, vent it in the mirror to yourself. Sometimes you honestly just need to get the words out of your mouth till your head. I think that gets lost a lot. Is like people are like, well, I'm not going to talk to myself. Oh, did I lose you?
Yeah, a
I'm
little
not
bit.
going to talk to myself. Write it down, talk to yourself, let it out so that you're not acting with emotions that are like through the roof.
Yes. That's something that I actually learned from Rob. He's a redhead, so when you do get his temper fired, there's not a whole lot of shutting it down, but he's really good at holding it maintained and handling situations when he's calmed himself down. And I've learned how to calm myself down and hold on to my words and my emotions until I've processed them first. I think that's a huge thing you got to learn how to do, not just with your spouse or your partner, but with friends too.
My husband's really good at that too. I sometimes not so much. We're
Gonna get
not
through
get through.
it.
We are gonna get through this time.
Yes, we
But
are.
it is. I mean, that's where it is like the balance of like, that's why our husbands bring us down from here like all the time.
Yes.
And having that person to bounce off of.
Yes. Yes. And you say like dancing around, doing your craziness and like your hair on top of your head, probably a grease ball, whatever. If you can't do that in front of your friend, in front of your partner and feel totally comfortable with yourself, it's a you thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And or the person is like, whoa, what are you doing? And maybe it's not what you need
Not
to be doing. It's
exactly.
not a good fit. You
Maybe
know,
it's
it's
not a
not
good
a good
fit.
fit.
Maybe you need to find
Yeah.
that other friend for that at that point. I
Yep.
can honestly say that we could totally do that together anytime.
That sounds fantastic.
Oh yeah, we're gonna meet up across the country. What are you guys gonna do? We're gonna rent an Airbnb. We're gonna dance in the kitchen. That's what we're
And
gonna
we're
do.
not going to go anywhere. We're going to go for a walk.
Yep, we'll go for a walk and maybe find a gym. That's about it.
About it.
That's who we
Yes.
become.
No, I'm
Oh,
trying to think if I had any other like, right. Oh, and okay. Well, I'm going to say this in the slightest of, I don't know, you've known me a little bit. We get this notion that like, oh, friends become family. Okay. Some of us don't get along with family, and that's okay. Keep friends in the friends. Like they don't have to become something else. That, you know, friends are friends. That's what they're for, and that's what they're there for. And so it's like lean on them. It doesn't necessarily mean that you need to, you know, they're not necessarily coming over for Christmas dinner because, to be honest, a lot of us do holidays with families, and that may not be what our initial choice was. We might want to do them with friends. And so I think that's also like something to look at, like in terms of like friendships and relationships and family ships, is like you have to set those boundaries. And I think having your friends that you say become family, well, don't always feel like you need to identify a friend as a family member. Like keep them as a friend. That's okay. Like I know a lot of society uses that term that, oh, you're family now. And it's like, well, what, and that may work for you. What's your definition of family?
oh yeah.
You know, is it your immediate family? Is it an extended family? I mean, I love all my immediate family. Absolutely. You
Yeah.
know, so.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree with that more. I couldn't agree with that. I mean, there's a number of times that I would much rather like come hang out with you for a holiday than see certain family members. But I
I
mean,
agree. And that, I mean, that's something that it's an honest thing. And if you're not willing to have this honest conversations, well, then that's something that you can reflect on yourself and maybe start looking towards having those honest conversations with people.
yeah, yeah. And I think I don't even know how to build off of that. That was just really good.
It's been in my notes. I've
Yeah,
been reminding you lately.
yeah.
So
Um, so one of the other things I wrote down kind of is like a topic switch, but not is like, how do you keep the friendship going? Like, I feel like at some point, people kind of like there's like that honeymoon phase of a friend where you're like, oh my God, everything's so new and exciting. And then all of a sudden, like the friendship takes effort and people are afraid to put effort into it for whatever reason. So I came up with a couple of things about how, at least you and I have been able to keep friendship going for the last, it's been 4 years now.
five, I think
Five,
five,
five. Okay.
five.
We did start in 2019. Okay.
Mhm.
So like,
I mean,
whoa.
it took us a while to build the friendship. It was a coach relationship first, and then
Yeah.
we just found all these things
Yeah.
that were wild.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. I scrolled back to the beginning and it's a lot of voice.
A lot of voice clips.
But Jenna holds her finger down the whole time. You're gonna have a
That's,
carpal tunnel because of me.
I still do. I still do it.
Um, But I think as far as like keeping a friendship going, right? If you're both on the same page, and you both want the same things out of the friendship, and you both are wanting to work at it and make it work, right? I think a couple of things that you need to keep in the forefront of your mind, and you can build off of these, is being able to, or being available for when shit gets really hard, and then taking turns of being each other's support person. I mean, sometimes we switch off by the hour. I mean, most days one of us is supporting the other in some sort of crisis, and then some days we're both on top of the world together, which is amazing. But I think we like, that's the true thing. You have to be willing to give, like that 80-20 thing. You need to be willing to give more than you receive. You need to be ready to pick up the pieces, or understand like, oh, Jenna's crisis is more than mine today. Mine's kind of not that bad. Let's pick her up. We can worry about my shit later, And I think that that's a big piece. I don't know if you have thoughts on that.
I absolutely do. And I think part of it, like picking the other person up, is like when you're struggling, don't look at the person who is on the up and go, oh my gosh, I want what they have, or I'm never going to get that, or like, and it's just the non-comparison. Like you shouldn't have to compare yourself to their world. You live in a different world. You're living a different life. Everything about it is different. You found commonalities, yes. But I think like not letting the envy and the jealousy and like, oh my gosh, I want what they have. I think that does break down a lot of friendships. And especially as we get older, because people, for whatever reason, they go, well, I can't compete with that. And they've got everything. So I just don't belong here. And that's when I think people give up. And it's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate. People do give up too easily, really, on everything anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, if it's not easy, why am I doing it? Well, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And I think that's, like you said, like everything.
Yeah, everything. And I mean, our friendship is easy, but there are definitely days where you're checking in on me repetitively, or vice versa, because we're making sure the other one's holding it together. And I think that's an important virtue, or not virtue, value to find in another human that actually sincerely cares. And I don't think we've ever compared each other in any negative ways. At least I haven't.
No.
So, which is
Well, and like you said, like recognizing when the other person is struggling, even when they're not willing to say it, like you can tell by tone of voice, you can tell by what they're willing to share, what they're hesitant on. Like, and sometimes you do, like, you have to dig a little bit and go, I'm gonna pull it out of you. You don't want to tell me, but that's why I'm here. And then at the end, you're like, oh, I really needed to get that out. So thank you for that. So yes, it's going to be hard, and you may not want to tell somebody something because you may feel judged. But again, those true friendships, that's not what they're doing by trying to pull it out of you. They're trying to support you in it.
Yeah, exactly. And being willing to understand that, like being willing to be vulnerable is just as much a part of like being with a partner, a spouse, as it is being friends with somebody. You have to be vulnerable. You have to share the sticky stuff. Like, but then again, we also laugh until we cry via voice clips multiple times a day too. So there's that. Or pee our pants, whichever one comes first.
Whatever happens. And guys, keep in mind, this is all like female friendships. I don't know what the male friendships do. Like, and it's so different, I feel like. And I know we do have some male clients. I don't know if they listen to any of the podcasts in the group or whatnot, but I feel like it is completely different. And it is like, we were talking last night. It's like my husband has a friend who they could not talk for weeks, but if something happened and he needed him, he would be here at the drop of a hat. What do you need? What can I do for you? And so I feel like, guys are different in terms of, their friendships and what they do with their friends and how they act with their friends and what they have their commonalities on, because, we're girls and our hormones are raging all the time. Like, it's just different. So
it really is.
take that with a grain of salt. And, another thing is like, if you're seeing your spouse and you're like, oh, you never go hang out with your friends, guys hang out in a different way. They could be working side by side. What did they call that when we were kids and you were playing next to somebody? You weren't actually playing together, but you were like side by side playing or something like that. When you were like 2 and 3 years old, like you didn't actually interact. You were just next to each other, but you were in the same room. And I feel like, men can be that way and they're totally okay with it.
Yeah. And I think it's super interesting because our husbands are fairly similar in a lot of ways as well. Super shocking. Everyone's surprised. But I feel like it plays to their personality types, right? Because there are more emotional men out there too. I was actually
Yep.
reading some studies and articles before we jumped on here about the differences between male and female like friendships. And like a lot of men are like kind of disappointed because they don't have the confidence or closeness with certain other male friends to be have like that emotional connection like females do with each other so often. But there's also female personalities out there that don't have the closeness like we do too. So it's just like I really just think it depends on like the personality type as well.
Yeah.
But Rob's the same way. Like he has his certain close friends, but he hardly ever gets to go see them because we're all living such a crazy life. And
Uh-huh.
I mean, we could get into all kinds of extra side topics, but like me trying to come out and visit you, like I'm so excited to do it, but at the same time, I feel guilty because he never goes and does anything like that, right?
Bingo. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then they're like,
But
they're
then they're always like,
encouraging
no,
it.
no, it's fine. Go do it. And you're like, okay, you're telling me this. So I'm going to believe you.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
please don't be mad while I'm gone. And then shit hits the fan while you're gone. you know, but it's like, it's just a different dynamic and they think
It is.
differently. And I think it really just comes down to the different personality types and what they prefer to do because like working alongside someone or just hanging out, having a drink or whatever, that's perfect for him. Having a golf game, perfect for him. And they don't have to talk about their feelings and stuff. Some might, but like Rob's probably not going to discuss his deep feelings with Brad.
Probably not.
No, and neither is Brad. It's not their thing. But
Yeah.
there are some men out there that might be into that. I'm sure there are. It's just not everybody. And I don't know. I think it's interesting. And I we got on a tangent. We knew this was gonna happen, but I don't know. There's the differences in how different brains operate. And I think it's just important if guys do want that kind of connection that they're willing to be vulnerable enough to have it too. Goes for
Yeah,
anyone. Goes for
I
anyone.
agree.
Yeah,
I
and
agree.
put yourself out there, which is super hard because we tell our kids, you gotta put yourself out there in order to let people like you. If you don't put yourself out there and let people like you, nobody is going to like you because you don't want them to.
Yeah.
And then here we are as adults, like, no, I'm gonna stay
That's
home,
actually, yeah. You
right?
run away.
I
Yeah, it
know.
is. And it's weird. And now we're parenting our kids to try and figure this out. And I'm like, gosh, what were my friendships like? And when I was a kid, like, I don't remember, when I was super young and it's like, no, everybody just ran around at recess and kicked a soccer ball. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. And then our kids come home and they tell us what's going on there. And I'm like, I don't remember this being
Whoa.
when I was your age.
No, no, I
Was it
agree.
Penny? Was that the dog?
What?
Was Penny in the background?
No.
Oh, I thought I heard her in the background. I don't know. Never mind. Um,
She's like 20 years old and done.
she's tapping. Um,
She's not.
by the way, Penny is her dog, so there we go.
He's my dog, not a human.
Okay. So then another thing, and you kind of touched on this earlier, but like how to keep friendships going, right? This I'm bringing it back. So not needing to have a million best friends, but a small circle you can really, really trust.
Yep.
And then with many other people that you enjoy their company with, that maybe are a little bit more than an acquaintance, maybe somebody you go and grab lunch with here and there, but not necessarily somebody that you're going to call when your heart is broken or a disaster happened with one of your kids or something like that, right? I feel like there's a boundary with that.
There's a level of friendship and the needs of you and the needs of the other person because we can't all be best friends with everybody. And I try to explain that to my kids. I'm like, you don't have to be friends with anybody, with everybody. Like, I'm sorry. And if your teacher is like, oh, well, you need to be friends with them, you can politely decline and say, I really don't feel like I will be polite to them and I will be kind, but I don't need to be friends with them. And I think that's something that we get lost in, especially in education. I mean, I'm in education, I see it. And I'm like, if you don't want to be partners with that person, I will not force you to be partners with them today. At some point, yes, you will be. But I don't think that we need to force our kids to be friends with everybody because we as adults aren't going to be friends with everybody. There's a reason we're all different.
Yeah. Yeah. And as far as kids go and like being partners, right? Like I think it's important that sometimes you have to do something with someone that maybe you don't necessarily like or enjoy because that's life, right? You're going to have a coworker or a boss or
Yep.
a cousin-in-law or whatever who you
Mhm.
really dislike, but you're going to have to learn how to be civil around them so that you can get through the day. And I think that that's a great
Yes.
lesson to really start instilling early. So I think that that's great that you
Mhm. Yep. So,
um the other one that I had was, and you brought this up earlier too, weird, it's like you're reading my mind, but find the friends that celebrate your wins and listen and help provide solutions to problems. There's been other times where you've had certain wins or you overcame a certain thing or even just a small win in the day and you were really excited about it. I think it's important to really hype the other person up when things go the way that they're
mhm.
supposed to. But then when something bad happens, which let's be honest, life throws us more curveballs than probably celebrations, um, being willing to listen or help provide solutions is going to be the friend that you need most.
Mhm.
So,
And I will say, Mel Robbins, she made a comment. Do you need me to listen or do you need me to respond?
mhm,
Because I can be both, but I need you to tell me what your needs are. Is like, do you want me to just listen to this right now? Because I will do that. And if you need me to respond and give you feedback and things, I can do that too. Or I'm going to share with you, I really don't have any suggestions for you at this point, but I'm not just going to pull stuff out of the sky to try and give you a response, you know? And I think that goes back to like the honesty and friendships is like, do you need me to respond? Because I will need some time to process this with you so that I can help you through it.
yeah,
And, you know, but then at the same time, yeah, lift up, celebrate, shoot it from the rooftops, all the things, you know, have that person you can go to and share things with.
yeah, yeah. It's got to be the friend that completes alongside of you instead of with you. I think that is
Mhm.
the friend that people need to find,
Mhm.
which is fabulous, and that is very hard to come by anymore. But
And if you don't have somebody like that, I mean, like, you know, here's another side topic is like, how do you go find that person? I mean, don't just go Google how to find friends and, you know, AI will give you a step by step. You could go to chat, GBT, whatever, and it'll tell you how to do it. But that's not realistic, you know? Put yourself out there. If you live, I mean, you're from the Midwest, there's a lot of really small towns out there. It's hard to meet people and it, you know, but it does take, hey, go to a yoga class, go to a restaurant. You know, you never know where you're going to meet somebody. So I think it is like, yes, you do need to put yourself out there in a physical space. You don't have to put yourself out there in an emotional space just because you're in a yoga class. You don't need to divulge your life story and say, who wants to be on my team? You know, you don't need to share that everything. It takes time to develop the friendship. And I think that's like, you know, you kind of have to like, hey, I went to this class, I talked to this person, great. Maybe I'll see him again, maybe I won't, and be willing to go back because you did have a good experience, not necessarily with the people, but what you were at.
yeah,
Use that as, yeah, I enjoyed that. It was okay. And if that's super scary for you, I'm not going to sit here and say I am like, let me solve all your social anxiety problems. And if you have social anxiety where going out is not an option, I will not be the person to say, let me tell you how to do it. That is not my expertise. But there is something to be said about trying new things and being willing to attend an event or attend a place that could put you in the situation of meeting somebody new that you may not have met otherwise.
I totally agree. And we have to keep in mind it's not us putting ourselves in the place to meet people where our kids are doing things.
Mm.
Those friendships are great. But let me tell you,
Yeah.
since basketball season ended, I haven't seen 75% of the parents I talk to every single week because it just doesn't happen. And that's okay.
No,
We'll pick back up
that's
when
okay.
season
They're
comes
your
back.
basketball friends. Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
But like that's the thing. If you want friends for you, you gotta go and do things that you want to do. Maybe it's a yoga class,
Mhm.
maybe it's a running club. If it's not fitness related, which is okay if it's not, maybe it's a cooking class, or maybe it's
Mhm.
a reading club or
Yeah. Go to
something.
the library, painting, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I literally, you guys like my business is great, right? We're doing fine. Making it through these tough times, but I went and got a part-time job at a boutique that I started in a couple of weeks because I sincerely just want to get out of the house and talk to more people about things that aren't fitness, right? Like just be in front of somebody and say like, "Oh my God, you look beautiful in those shorts." Like, go grab them, you know, like whatever. And it's just got to be about just fun interactions. So it doesn't have to be so forced, right? And don't
Mhm.
go out with the intention to go shopping for your new best friend because that just comes across as creepy. So don't do
Yes.
that. But
Yeah.
like just put yourself out there, be willing, right? And just be open for it. It's so hard because I'm coming from someone that did not come with a lot of friends, right? Like top of my head, besides my husband, I got like 3. And
Agree.
yeah,
Yeah, me
you
too.
know, and I talk to you every
And
day.
that's
The
okay.
other 2, not
It's
so.
okay.
Yeah. So don't feel like you have to be friends with the entire world. I think that's a big one to hit home. And I don't know. That's all the notes I have. Do you have any other ones that you want to talk about?
I mean, I think we pretty much just, solved the world's problems on how to find a friend.
Or the importance of it, at least. Like,
Yes, I think
or
it is. And
yeah, or
yeah,
maybe if like you and your friend just had a falling out, like don't be afraid to put yourself back out there again. But like I I think you need to be, like we said earlier, you need to be happy with yourself before you can really expect other people to want to spend all that extra time with you. And maybe you are healing right now. Maybe you find your next friend who's also healing through something, who knows? But I think it's important to
and
be.
at this point in life, like be yourself. Like I know when we're kids, we try, oh, you like Nike, I like Nike. You like ponies, I like ponies. Like we're beyond that. I feel like at this age, like be who you are. Like don't try and sugarcoat it. Yes, you can do things that the other person has interest in,
Mhm.
but you're doing it for the sake of supporting them, not
Absolutely.
necessarily because
Yes, absolutely. I love it all. Have just enough in common to tie you together, but you don't have to be twins. You know,
no.
it's amazing. And God, just stay honest all the time, right? Like, I don't think I've ever held my tongue on any conversation with you ever.
I have no tongue to hold.
I know. Sometimes I say too much.
It's fine. So do I. It
um,
works. It
yeah,
works for us. That's the
it
thing,
does.
is it
It
works
works.
for us. It's not gonna work for everybody.
No, not
No,
everybody wants someone to talk to every
no,
single day.
nope.
That's
And
okay.
that's okay.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't know that I needed that or wanted that before either, but it works for us.
It works for us.
So,
Yep. Yeah.
hopefully this helped somebody. I don't know if it did, but hopefully it brings you some sort of closure or normalcy feeling, or that you're not alone in
Yes.
whatever
Yeah.
quest you are with a friend, or how you feel about yourself right now. That's what I have got. Do you have anything you want to end with?
I think that's it. I think it's just that like this is common. It's not, you're not one in a million. You're the only person going through this. Someone told me that as a kid, is your kids aren't that cool that they're the only person doing this or the only person not doing this.
Yeah.
Somebody else is in your same shoes. So
Yeah.
I kind
Yeah.
of put that in life.
That's absolutely true. I love that ending note. That's perfect. It's perfect. All right,
All
guys.
right.
Well, we'll let you go. Thanks for joining us. If you listen through the whole thing, we love you. And you come back because we're going to record a couple more together soon. So see y'all later.
See ya.